Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the Microsoft 365 Community Conference Workshop Preview Series. Now, that's a mouthful. Powered by our strategic partner, Betechly. This series will run for the next 3 weeks on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and feature a sneak peek into the workshops scheduled for the main event in Orlando this April. If you're watching live one of our streams, and would like to discover our other upcoming preview events, we will display a QR code up on our screen up here. And if you go to that, scan that QR code, that will take you to the registration site for these preview webinars. And you can get an idea of what the other topics are, what other speakers are being done, and when they're being presented. We hope to see you all in April in Orlando at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. Please use the discount code N as in never 300 to save $300 off your registration. And to do that, to go to register for that, you can use the QR code on the screen as well to register before January 19th. But that's when the N300, $300 off expires. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our presenter, David Drever, Microsoft 365 MVP in compliance, data protection, and an M365 specialist at Protiviti. Take it away, David.
Hey everyone, welcome to the preview of the session I'm going to be giving in Orlando this spring. And really happy to be here. I really want to thank the M365 conference for the opportunity. I get to have a chat with all of you should you choose to come to my workshop about how to build a data protection program using Microsoft 365 capabilities. So specifically, we're going to be talking about defending your data, defending your environment, building a data protection program with Purview, Defender, and Copilot. So what I want to talk to you about today is what exactly am I going to be talking about in April in Orlando. So biggest thing here is I have some key goals that I want to bring forward in this workshop. And the first one being, just being able to introduce Microsoft data governance, their data protection framework. How does Microsoft view data protection? How do they go about it? Showing how that discovery, the protection, the prevention, the governance of all that work together to actually help you build an effective data protection program in your organization. Also, I want you to be able to understand how you classify and protect your data directly. How you can supplement different capabilities within Purview to give you a full-on data protection feature capabilities across the board. It's not just about one technology, and that's really what this workshop is going to show you is all the different technologies that work together to provide you with that full overview and capability suite of Microsoft 365 capabilities. Now, it looks like we've had some technical problems on my end here. I'll just keep on going. Hope you guys can all hear me. The other next thing I want to talk about here is how to gain a strong understanding of the different features. So I'm not just going to go do a high level of what these things are. I'm going to actually dig into them. I'm going to show you how to configure them, some tips and tricks on how to configure things and how they should be working together, how you want to make sure that you configure things so that they don't interfere with each other and that sort of thing as well. And then, just going beyond understanding the features, but also how do you want to go about configuring them? What is necessary in order for you to actually continue, or how you can actually meet your organization's needs using the technologies within Microsoft 365. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've done this for a number of clients. And over the years, I've picked up some tips and tricks that I would love to share with you in that workshop about how you can go about and configure things, different loopholes, or not loopholes, but different gotchas you need to be aware of, things like that, in order to make sure that you're actually building out that best solution to your organization that it needs. So let's start about like what things we're going to cover. And I want to start off with is Microsoft Purview. And I want to look at it from a 50,000 foot view, because from this 50,000 foot view is going to give you an idea of the things I'm going to be talking about in general at the actual workshop in April here. So the biggest thing to think about with Purview is that it is it's a suite of products. It's not just a single solution. It is a suite of products that work together to build out a data protection suite. So the first one we're going to talk about here is what we call the core. So the core is things that move across or support the entire suite of products within Purview, and that being like the audit logs, the compliance alerts, the settings themselves. So think of the audit log. If anyone has ever worked with SharePoint, everyone remember those on-prem ULS logs where you looked at the SharePoint server funny and it logged it for you? Well, the audit in Microsoft 365 Purview is exactly the same. You access a file, you make a change to the file, you share content, anything like that, it all gets audited. And all of that is tracked in Purview and used to help protect that information. So this is why we call these the core components, because they overlap into all areas of your data protection program. The next one is your risk and compliance. So the risk and compliance is, focuses on managing your data and governing that data as well. So you think about things like communication compliance, your compliance manager, e-discovery, information barriers, records management. These are the components that Purview groups into that risk and compliance. And some of these I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here, but then I'll go into a lot more detail in my workshop. Keep in mind, what you guys are getting is just a taste here. I'll be going in a lot more detail into how Microsoft built these tools, how Microsoft is implementing them, how you can modify that implementation with policies and things like that. So keep that in mind. Then we have what's called the data governance section of Purview, and that focuses more on your structured data, your data catalogs, and even data lifecycle management as well. So it's more about the governance of data as opposed to the protection of data directly. And then the big one that everyone wants to be implementing in the organization is the data security side. So things like sensitivity labels, data loss prevention, insider risk management. And then you'll notice here that we have 1, 2, 3 different versions of data security posture management, or DSPM. So beforehand, you used to have 2 consoles for DSPM. The first one being just your general data service security posture management across the entire organization. And then you had one that was focused on AI. With the onset of Copilot and other AI tools, Microsoft brought forward a DSPM for AI console. But at Ignite, they actually announced that they're going to be actually amalgamating both of those into a single one just called DSPM. So right now, if you were to go to your Purview environment right now, you would actually see that you have 3 different flavors of DSPM. So these are all things that we're going to chat about in April and go into a deep dive and how you can make use of these different tools. Now, one of the things that is important, I'm going to cover into a lot more detail, is just the data governance framework itself. How does Microsoft, how does it help you protect your information? The concepts of classifying your data. Once your data is classified, protecting that data. On top of that, supporting that data protection with the actual capability to control the flow of data with data loss prevention. And then also, and a lot of people don't think of it this way, but it is the actual records management or compliance management of your data. Because a lot of times, deletion of content can also be a security risk. And so the actual ability to control the deletion and maintaining of your content is highly important as well. And so not just left to its own little section, is actually part of the overall governance framework within Microsoft 365. Now, I talk about classification here. And something I'm going to dig into deeper here in April is also, how does Microsoft actually classify their content? Microsoft has 4 main tools that allow you to do that. Sensitive information types, things like credit cards, excuse me, license numbers, passport numbers, things like that. Having the algorithms and the controls that allow you to actually classify your data. Trainable classifiers, being able to train the system to understand the type of data that you have that you consider confidential, and then using Purview, once you've trained the system, to actually go and look for that data and the content and supporting content around that as well. Exact data match is exactly what it sounds like. How do I, using exact like customer numbers or employee numbers, or if you happen to have a database of other important words and things like that, you can actually do a direct search for that across your entire organization with exact data match. Document fingerprinting, letting the system understand how your documents, confidential documents may look, what forms they may take. Basically, a fingerprint to identify that content. So again, these are ways that Microsoft Purview actually helps classify your data. In our workshop, we're definitely going to dig into the details around them, the when to use what, how to configure them, that sort of thing. So we'll definitely cover that in April during the workshop. Now, moving along, I want to touch upon some of the main components we're going to spend a lot of time on and doing a really deep dive. And the first one is Microsoft Purview information protection. Now, you'll hear the term information protection across the board, things like this. What we're talking about here, you'll also hear the term is sensitivity labels. Being able to label your content and apply controls based on that label. And so why I'm going to be spending a lot of time on this is that your Microsoft Purview information protection, the information protection, at one time it was called Azure Information Protection, so it's gone through some name changes, but the whole concept of information protection is actually the foundation in Purview of everything that you want to do, because you can actually create new rules, new policies, things like that are based on the labels that you set. And so you want to have this in your tickle trunk of capabilities in order to ensure that you are actually giving your organization the best possible risk mitigation capabilities you can. And like I said, this is the foundation for everything, and we're going to be spending a lot of time on this. A lot of deployment tips and tricks, some gotchas, some understanding of the different nuances around the configurations in information protection, how to deploy them, and all that sort of fun stuff. We'll be going in much more detail. Now, the next one that we move along to is actually data loss prevention. And so the concept behind data loss prevention is you're going to have your content, it's going to exist in the cloud. And you are going to have users that you're going to be sent to, the unauthorized. They could be internal or they could be external. And the idea behind DLP is the control of that flow of data. Being able to make sure that, you're sending sensitive information, that it's only going to users that are authorized to have that. And so, again, Microsoft provides an entire console just around this, and we'll be digging into this console and understanding, what are the options available to you? How do you configure that? How do you understand the different capabilities and also the different workloads? Because DLP actually has multiple different workloads that you can apply controls to. And so we'll take a deep dive into that. So probably the next, I would say, is almost as important as MIP. The only reason that MIP or Microsoft Information Protection may be a little more important is simply because it's the foundation. You can actually use MIP to help define DLP policies. But we'll definitely be doing a lot more in work on this in April and in the workshop there. So next up, we'll be talking about insider risk management. Now, I love insider risk management. Insider risk management is the ability to understand where your users are taking risky actions. And the reason being is that a fairly high percentage, and it depends on which report you view, it can be anywhere from 40 to 60%, but a fairly significant ratio of data breaches are actually caused by an internal actor in some form or other. And so insider risk management allows you to understand when these risky occurrences are happening. And a lot of times, to be terribly honest, users don't even realize they're doing it. So it's not necessarily a malicious activity. Insider risk management doesn't care about that. So we'll be digging into understanding how does IRM track data? How does it understand the capabilities or the actions that users are taking, and understanding if they are risky or not. And once it actually brings alerts, how do you handle those alerts? What information do you have at your fingertips? How do you move it up into higher levels of investigation if necessary? Can you use IRM to actually actively protect your information? A little tip is yes, it can. We'll talk about that too. So these are all things that we're going to be covering in the workshop as well. And once we're done with IRM, we'll move into Compliance Manager. Now, Compliance Manager is actually quite important because what it does is lots of organizations are working in industries that have regulatory requirements. And any organization that works in Europe, you have GDPR. And then it doesn't matter which country you have, every country now has regulations about how private information needs to be handled, how you store it, how you share it, how is it maintained. And so what the Compliance Manager does is it actually allows you to take those rules and do an assessment in your tenant and find out, are you compliant or not? As we can see, I'm not very compliant in my tenant for my screenshot, but that's okay because I actually haven't done anything for regulatory requirement in my tenant. But these are things that you would be able to see, and we'll dig into this in a great amount more detail. Now, it's not all going to be about Purview. Purview is a great solution, great platform for the majority of your data protection needs. But we're also going to be discussing things like Microsoft Defender. So monitoring your endpoints, your cloud apps, your identities, where do you have exposure? These are all things that Defender is able to provide you as well. And we'll be doing a dive into these different capabilities, understanding how Defender works with Purview and provides additional support, how you can configure your organization. Can you use Purview if you have other tools in your organization? Again, you can actually do that, and we'll talk about how. So you do have a lot of components within Defender that are not, yes, they're to help with endpoints, they're to help with exposure, but they also help the overall solution when it comes to data protection. And these are things that we are definitely going to be focusing on in that workshop as well. And then the last piece we're going to talk about here is definitely that security Copilot. How do you use Copilot? How do you use AI to actually assist you? And this is something where, I don't see AI as a tool that is fully going to, replace the need for all these different components or all these different tools. It's there to help you, to help you find underlying causes, to alert you when things are happening, and to actually have traces in place and all that sort of stuff. So we'll be doing a look into how Copilot can help you as a security analyst or as a security consultant, how Copilot is able to help you support your organization and support your data protection program as it's rolled out to the organization. So that is a very, very high level view of all the things we're talking about. Like, again, 50,000 foot view of what we're gonna be talking about. So I invite you today. I'll be speaking on April 19th. It's a full day workshop in Orlando. I'll be covering all those topics and more that we just finished covering here in this preview. So building your data protection program with Purview, Defender, and Security Copilot. 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's a full day, and I look forward to seeing you there. And I'll pass it back to you, Lyman. Again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for presenting this virtually, and for those who are watching on the live stream or registration, if you'd like to get quite a bit deeper dive into the data protection, you can join David live in Orlando this April at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. We want to make sure that you use the code N300 to save $300 off your registration. And if you use the QR code that's going to be going up on the screen, that will take you to the registration site. And please do this before January 19th, because that's when the code expires. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today. Tomorrow, we have 2 more workshop previews. At 11 a.m. Mountain Time, we have Tracy Vanderschuyf, who will be presenting insights into her no-code intranets workshop. And at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, we have Laura Rogers, who will then also be giving you a sneak peek and a preview into her workshop on SharePoint solutions with Power Apps. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you in Orlando.